4, 3, 2. Screw it. Well, it's premature education. It's welcome to the show. It's Friday afternoon, and thank you for joining me. And how are you? And good to see you. And there's so many questions. We have so many questions. We got a great chat room already building. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, etc., etc., etc. I try to get it out of the way, but I can't always. And I was just running around doing a bunch of stuff, so I just kind of feel like this is one of those shows where I feel like I came into the show just like cartoon skidding on one foot, just like that. Hi. But I can settle in now. We're good. I did have to give Chud her medicine, and it's not a thing. I swear to God, I'm going to start asking for suppositories from now on. I would have an easier time doing that. And that would be no question hell, but I don't know if Chud would go for it or not. I'm not here to yuck her yum. She might find out it's something she's for, which would be awkward for me, because we don't have that kind of relationship. But just trying to get that like liquid medicine syringe in her mouth, and she just does this. So you put it in the cheek, like you try to. That's how most of the time you do it. Is you get it in the side of their mouth, and then they kind of go, "What?" She goes, like that every time. The minute you start getting she does that. And the problem is, like I said, her issue is with aspirating her food. She gets bits of particles of food and like the gravy that comes with cat food, like the watery part of it. She gets that in her lungs, and that's partly what messes her up. So if she starts going, all I can think of is I'm just squirting like this medicine right into her lungs. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm worried about. Anyways, the funny thing is that I kind of get nervous if she's not up and moving around. The minute I try to give her medication, she's a brand new cat. She's shaking her head and walking around. She's like, I'm fucking hot. She, like, for all of her, like, trucking around old cat style, she's like, get the fuck out of here. Google bulldog that spits out pills. I will. Yeah, the minute I give her medicine, she's like, I'm fucking around. I wasn't really old. I'm just, she just bugs out. And then she goes up and lays on her spot on the couch because she has her own spot. Of course, I don't have a spot on the couch, a regular spot. She's got a regular spot on the couch. She goes up there and lays down. And then I feel like I have to like go through a peacemaking moment after she settles in. Like, okay, I'm going to come over and I'm going to pet you for a little bit. Hands are empty. Like a hostage negotiator. Like I got nothing. I like, here you go. Put it. She's like, put the syringe down, kick it over to me. There's nothing I can do. It's just crazy. Anyways, hi chat room. There you are. Lovely people. My child, mine. Yes. She does have me trained, but that's, partly the hard work that she has done. No question. Partly the work of Chud is training me to take care of her. The other part is easy because I'm already inclined to be good to my pets. So there you go. And I was trained well. Not only did I grow up around all the cats on our farm in Kentucky, but my buddy Rob, who's my roommate for years, he had a dog named Taffy. I've told you guys about her a little bit. She's actually the dog I impersonate when I do the pocket dogs thing, where I do the bit about, if you haven't seen that bit, I'll save most of it. But I'm doing when I do that. That is exactly Taffy, who would go from adorable to like Satan in 2 seconds. And I had to give her a lactated ringer every day for months because because I was okay with it. I was like, oh, she needs it. All right, I'll do it. Yeah, that's your old face. I pity the fool. I really do. Dogs are way cooler than most people. I don't know. Depends on the dogs. Depends on how hungry they are. Anybody who go look up that stuff about the wolf super packs. I used lactated ringers for several of our cats over the years. Yeah, Carl, it's a process. I mean, on the one hand, it's easier than an IV, certainly. Finding a vein on a cat, good Lord. But it is I mean, you're sticking a needle in your cat and sitting there while it, while they hydrate. It's a lot. So, anyways, your dog had her spa day yesterday. Oh, how lovely. She have little cucumbers on her eyes. That's fun. Slices, not the whole thing, obviously. You can use squeeze ups and mix together and let her cook out on a spoon. No, the problem is both of these medications can't be taken with food. Yeah, subdermals are not hard to do because cats are fairly tough, especially when they're old. Old pets are like they have so much pain already that they just don't. Another little sharp pain isn't really going to do it. They don't really care. Your dogs love cucumbers. Mad Mac. It's none of my business, really. All right, let's get in the show. We got lots to show, and there's no way I'm getting through the clips today. There's just no way. But I would like to remind you right out of the gate, while I'm setting this part up, like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, do whatever you like, that kind of thing. Now, the debt ceiling has passed. It's over and done with. Biden is signing it tonight at 7 Eastern, so in about an hour, he's gonna come on and say it, make a sandbag joke, and then sign it, and that's that. Okay? And everybody's flipping out about it. And a lot of the stuff, I really enjoy watching stuff after the fact. I'm a big fan of when people are like, oh, dear God, the end is nigh. And then the end isn't nigh at all. And then you go back and watch the end is nigh videos. They're pretty hilarious, I have to say. Now, this is it. We have several people over the last little bit. And I got to start this. We have several people over the last little bit that have been giving us the rundown of what's in the debt ceiling bill. And a lot of them are hilariously wrong or confused about what they should be cheering about and what they should be upset about. That's kind of the fun. But in the meantime, and by the way, Ro Khanna's statement on his support for the debt ceiling is exactly what I said. It was making the rounds today, I think, that where he basically said, we told the White House if they need our votes, we'll vote for it, but in good conscience, we can't vote for it. You're like, well, then you voted for it. You didn't stop it. And you aren't about to. So you just didn't vote for it because of political reasons. But please tell me how you're pure. Like, it's just silly. It's just silly pants. If you have a choice, bill or no bill, and even though you don't like everything that's in the bill, but there's no option other than that, and the option is not having it at all, and not having it at all would fuck everyone, then vote for the fucking bill. And don't treat your constituents like they're morons. Ugh. I give a bunch of people cover on this to not vote for it, and then, and then he actually says it. Like, Ro Khanna actually said it. Like, if they need us to vote for it, we'll vote for it. But in good conscience, I can't vote for it. Well, then, conscience isn't part of it. If your conscience only comes in to play as a factor in situations that don't matter, how is that even a moral choice? I just find that ridiculous. I find that silly pants. It's silly pants. It is. Ro Khanna is a goose, and he is silly, so therefore he is a silly goose. Meanwhile, speaking of silly gooses, this is Dinesh D'Souza, a.k.a. your high school's golf coach, who, oddly enough, gets questioned by the police every couple of months. And here he is. This is the content and implications of the debt extension deal. The case for and against the debt extension deal. In balance, it's a bad idea. What a fucking wuss. I mean, I would vote for it if I had to, but it's the same shit. Okay, here we go.
The House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy.
By the way, that bell at the top is it's silly. It's ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Embarrassed.
McCarthy has announced that he has worked out a deal with the Biden White House on this debt ceiling, on extending the debt ceiling and preventing the government from going into a shutdown or a default on the debt.
First of all, both. Both of those things happen. Oh, he's a bit loud. Okay, I'll see if I can bring him down a bit. Boink.
Now, Biden has been warning that a default on the debt will be catastrophic, and he has also said he's not going to negotiate. In other words, you basically have to just go along.
No, they negotiated this whole time. While he made this video and after he made this video, they had been in negotiations. If they've agreed to some sort of compromise, there was a negotiation. Okay, this is just, good Lord.
Because otherwise we're just going to go into a collapse, almost implying that Republicans are forced to do this. Kevin McCarthy sort of did call that bluff, and eventually the Biden people came to the negotiating table. But the question is, who got the better of this deal?
Oh, I know. I know.
And I got to say that I think on the balance, the answer is Biden did. And
Yeah, correct. What do we have for him, Johnny?
This itself is a little shocking because you've got this decrepit Biden. You've got
this decrepit Biden as opposed to the myriad of other kind of Bidens. Cracky Biden, Shemp Biden.
A guy who basically I don't even think could really put his pants on.
Have you ever seen him without his pants? Dinesh, why are you using Mid-Journey to fantasize about Biden without his pants on? I don't understand.
Doesn't seem often to know where he is. Now, I'm not...
He always knows where he is. Here's the thing, Dinesh. It's easy to know where you are because you don't go anywhere.
Not saying that he isn't surrounded by shrewd negotiators, but this is a case...
Well, that's the kind of executive he is. So he doesn't have to spend all of his fucking time needling through little details like he's a House member.
Case where the Republicans held all the cards because the Republicans could hold out.
No, they couldn't. They could not hold out. They couldn't hold out without wrecking the fucking economy, which I don't know why this asshole thinks that maggots or they operate like outside the economy from everybody else. I mean, I know they believe that about the fucking environment.
And true, the media would then, if there's a default, the Republicans are to blame. They're the obstinate ones. Who cares? The bottom...
Well, because there would be real damage. You're not just talking about a PR maneuver.
The line of it is people generally, when things turn south, if there's an economic slowdown or shutdown, they blame the president. He's in charge. He didn't work it out. Not to mention the fact that if he says, I'm not going to negotiate, then who's to blame for a deal not going through?
Well, because there really aren't that many negotiating points. There's not much. This isn't even about debt he accrued necessarily. Again, a third of our national debt occurred under Trump.
I think that here was a case where Kevin McCarthy could have driven a really hard bargain.
Yes. Yeah. He did. They passed their, spend limit grow bill or whatever the fuck it was. They sent it to the Senate and it died there. That was their bargain. They don't even have the votes to get it through the Senate. They didn't hold all the cards. And they know that they've got a hair's breadth majority in the House, largely that will be taken back if they act like lunatics.
And here's where Republicans tend to fail. They have an opportunity. The cards are in their hands.
Yes, that's how poker works. One person has has cards in their hands. Everybody else just sits there with chips, throwing them at them.
And then they make what is at best a kind of pallid, mediocre, give away too much type of deal. Now, this is not to say that there are not some good things in the deal.
All right, but their pallid give away too much kind of good things.
There are some good things in it. There are some caps on spending, although not on defense spending. The reason for that, by the way, is that there are several Republicans who are strongly in favor of Ukraine. They've inherited a sort of anti-Russianism all the way back from Soviet days.
Yeah, they inherited that. It's been in the family for a long time. It gets passed down father to son, Cheney to Cheney, as it were. It's not because they're actually looking at the situation going, fuck, Russia attacked that country, and left unchecked, they're threatening to strike Berlin, for crying out loud, and they've done this in 4 other countries. So I guess what's the other alternative? Give them Africa?
There are new allowances in the deal that open up energy permits that were previously closed off by the Biden administration.
Which, by the way, it's the review process. It's like they're ones that were going to happen anyways. Look, a lot of these oil and gas permits, just for the record, are not about them like stopping drilling here in whatever, in Arkansas someplace, and then they get one of these permits and they just march off in the middle of some pristine land and sink a new well there. The vast majority of these things are like within 5 miles of the other one because of the availability and how far they can go and the range of their of the oil that they've actually found. The majority of these things. There are new exploration ones, but even those, because it's always exploration, you could be wrong even if it's close. Oy.
There are some work requirements that have been extended. So in other words, you get government entitlements, but not without a work requirement. Democrats have been fighting to have no work requirements.
No, they haven't. We've had 19 to 49-year-olds have minor work requirements if they're able-bodied and they're getting SNAP benefits. They have to at least keep looking for a fucking job and that kind of stuff. It's just the difference is they added 4 years to it.
And finally, Democrats were trying to sneak in some tax hikes, and the tax hikes are basically shut out. So they're going to be no.
Let's just put some stuff that never happened in and give ourselves credit for things that never happened.
New taxes. But that's the good news, and it's not good enough news in my view.
Oh, well then everybody pack it up. Dinesh doesn't like it.
If you look at the Republican proposal, it had a lot of great ideas. Cut $131 billion in spending. The real cut that McCarthy seems to have agreed to, a modest cut, a 2-year freeze in spending, and even that seems to be questionable. There's there are $12 billion.
All right, fuck him. I'm this is boring. I like this dude nitpicking over stuff and going, this would be good, but I don't like that. So they should have held out, even though the deadline's right around the corner, and it would have wrecked the economy. And the Republicans might have gotten blamed, but I'm not in office, so who gives a shit? Like, just, I can't. Just, there's no reason. There's no justification why anybody would need to listen to this dork. So we will jump over to a big question I think we all have, and we may bail out on this one as well. We might do a Whitman sampler tonight where I'm not doing, I won't edit the clips or move around in them or do a needle drop, but we might bail out early if they're particularly stupid, like Dinesh was. Where, I've often wondered, all the moving parts are there. All the opportunities in the world are presented to us. Why are we not in World War III already? I mean, get on with it. As a Gen Xer, I've been waiting since they were talking about a War Games sequel. Which probably would have had Eric Stoltz in it. Boo. No, I'm just kidding. But I've often done, like, as a Gen Xer, and we have many Gen Xers, I think, in the chat room, you guys, aren't you like, what the? Zip it on. World War III, come on. I want, robot mechanized things shooting pulse cannons that don't exist yet. How many sci-fi movies were made where World War III had already happened by 2004, right? I don't know what the heck. Well, there's one reason. There's only one thing that's apparently keeping us out of World War III. And Glenn Beck knows what it is. The only thing stopping World War III, which, if I'm not mistaken, Glenn and Stu have both said happened already. We're already in World War III. We're basically in World War. They've said that a bunch. We're basically in World War III. It's like the same like shitheads that go, we're basically communist China right now. Like, oh God. So let's see. What is, it's a great unanswered question. Let's find out. Okay. The only thing stopping World War III.
I don't know what it
Well, my ass from my elbow. Hold on. I got to bring this down a little bit. It seems loud.
it is going to take. I was talking to somebody yesterday.
Also, just in case people were wondering, no, Glenn Beck is not a sergeant. I don't. Is it adult wear your Cub Scouts uniform to work day?
From Sweden. They're a journalist in Sweden. And she was in the office, and
You had a Swedish journalist in the office. Okay. I'm literally getting a backup of jokes in here that go from Seika to the Swedish chef on the Muppets. My brain is a mess.
I said, how are things going with ESG? And she said,
How are things going with ESG? And she's,
nobody in Europe really even understands it.
nobody understands. Well, that's because it's not called ESG there, because they use different words. That it's like those French have a different word for everything.
And I said to her, who do you know that is speaking out? Who can have an impact in Europe on this? And she said, nobody. They're just shutting everybody down. You can't do it. And if it wasn't for Russell Brand and, quite honestly, you, this audience,
Fuck off.
I don't think America would have gotten it either. And they're way ahead of us in some places. We're way ahead of them in other places.
Yeah, you mean each country has varying degrees of investment in climate action and social and governance issues based on the difference in the type of government they have? When did that shit start?
But, all of this stuff, what you're being told is not true.
Okay. All right. Well, your whole show or just this chunk?
And the military-industrial complex,
Oh, fuck off. Enough with the MIC. See, we're going to bomb you.
scientific industrial complex.
The scientific industrial complex. This is, okay, the industrial complex stuff has just jumped the frigging shark. Science is not an inherently governmental thing. So that's like saying the math industrial or the biology industrial what? Like, I thought it was bad when Matt Taibbi was saying the censorship industrial complex. Like there are factories that specialize in censorship. Good Lord.
And the educational industrial complex.
Oh, my God. Yes, it's the educational industrial complex. It's where business works to keep people stupid so that the educators can make more money teaching them the things they've already taught them so that they can be made stupid again. And then they just have to keep going back to school. No one ever graduates. What the hell?
All making money from the government. And with this new budget deal, we'll make even more money.
Yeah. Everything is an industrial complex right now. Anything the government does anything about, has any involvement whatsoever, there's an industrial complex on it. There's a transportation industrial complex. There's a Smithsonian industrial there's a Kennedy Center industrial complex.
And grow even bigger They're the ones calling the shots.
Hey.
Oh, it's all private-public partnerships.
Oh, dear. Wasn't Trump just touting private-public partnerships, public-private partnerships, and his fucking cure for addiction yesterday? Remember that? Fuck, don't make me go look that shit up. That's a constant phrase. And by the way, the fact that this asshole is decrying public-private partnerships, when indeed that's what Republicans have been fighting for forever. What do you think the fucking privatization of Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security related programs, for example, or even school vouchers or any of that shit is about? That is about the public, in form of a taxpayer, picking up most of the weight, and then private industry doing what they do and getting a profit off of it, and then outsourcing some of it. What do you think the VA Choice Act was about? Allowing veterans to use their VA benefits to go to a private caregiver, either a private hospital that's not a VA and not in the VA system, or doctors in their area. That's a public-private partnership. I don't even like this. It's supposed to sound commie. There's a big push to make this sound commie, like public-private. That's how they get a toehold. Like, motherfucker, this is what you've been selling. This is what Republicans sell.
They're the ones calling the shots.
Especially Fauci.
And I don't know how, when you are against war. First of all, I don't know what happened to all the anti-war people. What happened to them?
What do you mean? What? I'm sorry. Do you think anti-war means pacifist? You think It's like I don't want to happen to all the anti-rape people who don't want to let rapists out and let them go back to raping. What? How are you anti-war if you're just for letting Russia win? What are you talking about? We didn't start this. We're not about to start this. Are you stupid? And by the way, this is from the Second Amendment. You got to be able to defend yourself. You should be able to open carry. This dickhead wants you to carry around a AR-15 at the supermarket, so everybody gets used to it, so nobody bats an eye, so you get used to the idea of turning your back on these idiots until one of them decides to pop off. No, that's why we don't want open carry in public, because the rest of us that have shit to do would rather, when we see someone with a gun, react like, oh, this guy's got a gun, let's get the fuck out of here. Instead of just getting so normalized to it that any one of them could finally go, oh, they're just all standing there. Brah.
Where did you go? Where's Cindy? What, Cindy Sheehan?
Okay, first of all, what are you wearing?
Where are you? Where are you? When we righteously wanted to strike back after 9/11, all these, not in my name.
Righteously wanted to strike back? The Iraq War was not us righteously striking back. The hijackers were fucking Saudi. Look, hitting the camps where they train in Afghanistan or something, you might have been able to make a case for that. And John Kerry made a great point about it being more of an international criminal investigation than the predicate for a fucking war.
Okay, now I can understand maybe Iraq, but Afghanistan?
Other way around, stupid. Why would you understand Iraq? They didn't come from Iraq. They were trained in Afghanistan. The camps where some of these guys got together and some of it was worked out and where Osama bin Laden was in fucking Afghanistan. What are you talking about?
And that's not, saying for the strategy was pretty poor, but where are you now? You're all for it. Why?
Well, first of all, we had troops in both of those places. We invaded those places outright. We did, and again, the large portion of the hijackers came from Saudi Arabia. So how does that make any fucking sense? But Russia attacks Ukraine. We're supposed to sit this one out because we were against us doing something offensive? I don't even know why I'm arguing this point. The dude is lost. This is jelly-headed nonsense.
Because you don't believe a damn word you're saying. The ones that do.
By the way, this is also the side that doesn't understand consent. This is a Trump voter who voted for Trump on what he believed was religious grounds.
Are switching sides, and they're not coming, and they're not like, I'm all of a sudden conservative. They're just getting out of that cesspool, and they're like, I can't be what they say is a liberal. I can't be a Democrat because that goes against everything I've always believed. Where are more of those people?
Yes, sir. Your problem is that there's three of these assholes who can't make the distinction between us attacking Iraq in response to 9/11 was wrong and us helping Ukraine with aid because they were attacked by Russia is right. Correct. The inability to make this distinction seems like an odd blind spot.
Where are more of those people?
Well, I'll tell you what. Think it through. We'll wait. Run that whole thought through your brain again and see if any of it comes back to like, wait, I'm an idiot. I realized that I was talking about two different circumstances where we had control over the situation. We chose to take an action that a large portion of the citizenry thought was wrong, to do an act of war versus us supporting someone else who's just being attacked. But then I guess these are the people who backed the blue by letting the Capitol Police be beat nearly to death and tased nearly to death and attacked and what have you, who are for, America and yet chant hang Mike Pence and carry the Confederate flag through the rotunda.
Where are the people that understand, as I explained, Ukraine with our own border? Any doubt in your mind, Stu, if we, just to protect ourselves, we said we're going to take, 20 miles past our border and we're just going to annex it because it's chaos and we need to be on the other side of the river to stop it. Okay, this is never going to happen. But let's say we did that.
Are you proposing this as a policy? Because it does sound interesting.
Yes.
Okay.
So let's just say we did that, okay, for our own security as a nation, because Mexico just wouldn't help us. They were working against us.
Even if it was irrational.
Yeah.
We just did it. Like we were the aggressors. We crossed this border.
Correct. We would be wrong for doing it,
right.
But we did it.
Okay.
And Mexico couldn't defend themselves against us. And so Russia stepped in and said, this is an abomination. Even if we all knew, it really was wrong of us to do that, but we did it for the right reasons, our own security.
What the fuck is he talking about? You left one factor out of this, that you were going to that in this analogy, this 20-mile buffer range or whatever the hell would include us also bombing Mexico City, bombing the capital of Mexico, and then if they fight back at all, taking action to wipe Mexican culture from the face of the earth.
Russia starts arming the Mexicans and training the Mexicans.
And we should point out, too, an important part of this, publicly.
Yeah, publicly.
Not like leaking in arms in some proxy situation that we're like, we don't know what you're talking about.
By the way, the Russian-Ukrainian border was not a porous mess. The issue was not and has never been that Ukrainians were stealing jobs from Russians or vice versa, and that there was just too much movement across the Russian-Ukraine border.
Talking about, we're not sending the missiles.
No,
openly doing press conferences and bragging about it.
Right. And
because in 2014 they sent in troops and annexed part of the fucking country. Here's a better example, Glenn. What if, this asshole's in Texas, what if Mexico had decided, you know what, the Alamo, we'd like another bite at that apple. And so we're going to amass troops near there every so often until the United States lowers its guard because they think we do this all the time and it never comes to anything. And then one day, suddenly Mexican nationals and cartel members and stuff are causing little dust ups on every street in any city 50 miles from inside the United States from the Mexican border all across there, that they would just like go in there and they just started like gang fights and shootouts and that kind of stuff to kind of rile up the business. And when the cops came, they killed all the police officers. And by the time the National Guard was called, they already had surrounded citizens and basically had hostages 50 miles into the United States all along the southern border. Now, continue.
And sending, did you see the latest? We're sending them more drones. Russia in Moscow is being attacked by drones.
Yeah, Chinese drones. Prosumer drones with grenades attached to them. Made by people inside Russia.
And so what do? We send the Ukrainians more drones?
Yeah, they aren't the same drones. The drones we send them are surveillance drones. We're not sending them Reaper drones or even kamikaze drones. We're sending them surveillance drones largely. I guess, look, the word drone, that's all you need to know. There are no differences. All drones are the same. They all sound like a DJI, and all of them have the ability to launch a hypersonic missile. They're all the same.
Okay, so then let's say Mexico, with the help of Russia, takes back some of that territory, but then starts to move.
No. Takes back some of that territory. So they have not crossed our border. They have simply tried to take back the nerve of these fucking people. Mexico, what the fuck? They have attempted, apparently, to take back their own land that we took because we no likey.
Move in, take San Antonio. It's like, you know what? You started it, we're taking it. And they took San Antonio. And it was all...
And most people in the world would go, well, you started a war with Mexico. You didn't... You seized 20 miles of territory across the northern border of Mexico. You seized Mexican territory, and then you get mad because they're not honoring your border? Yes, we would be wrong, and therefore that shit would be reasonable on their part, because now they're the ones that need the 20-mile buffer. What the hell?
Being financed and run by the Russians, who were openly saying, we're going to topple that regime.
No. And by the way, if at that point, again, if we had attacked Mexico because Donald Trump was like, I don't like it, too many Mexicans close to the Mexican border, these little towns they have, I don't trust them, we're going to have to just, make a bomb moat. Good Lord.
Do you think we wouldn't use nukes if we had to? Do you think we wouldn't declare war? We would declare...
Yes, right. We're gonna nuke the Mexican border, like right across the river from El Paso, and we're gonna nuke San Antonio. No, we're not gonna do it. You know why? Because we actually have the military. We say we do, and we're not gonna do anything insane like try to seize. And by the way, I love that he makes it like 20 miles inside the border. Like that's the size of the goddamn Donbass.
War on the Russians in a heartbeat if that was the situation. Why is it so unreasonable to think that with all that we are doing, that they're showing incredible restraint? Because I don't think we'd have that restraint.
This asshole doesn't think we've been in proxy conflicts with the fucking Russians before, involved in other countries. Also, how many of the American people, I mean, we do live in a democracy. I mean, there's obviously a clear difference. How many of the American people does this dickhead think would be okay with us nuking Mexico for trying to take back land that we steal from them now? Not covered wagon times, not pre-establishment of, the 50 states, none of this, like multiple trade deals ago, none of that stuff, like now. Who? How many, do we do a quick poll? What the hell?
And
they're bad. I'm not sticking up for Putin or the Russians.
Yes, you are.
Not at all.
Yes, he is. Yes, you are. Because you are through like bullshit analogies that are not equal in any way to the actual circumstance. You are lessening the severity of their crimes. You are minimizing what they are doing in Ukraine to make it like, if they did that, it'd be like bam.
I hate what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't hate what they're doing. You don't care. You're totally disconnected from it. Otherwise, or the word hate means nothing to you. It's just a placeholder for stuff that annoys you.
But I mean, like, if you kind of look at this as pretty obviously would turn into World War III if we actually got into a war with Russia. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Stu. Thanks. No. If we got into a war with Russia, no. The world would be involved in it, but it wouldn't be World War III. It would be the U.S.-Russian war. Everybody else would just be collateral damage.
It's World War III.
And the end of the dollar and everything else, because the dollar...
Yeah, so that's the thing about the apocalyptic world of Book of Eli and the Jean-Claude Van Damme oeuvre Cyborg, and all the Terminator movies, all the the pre and post, the epilogue scenes. That's the thing about them is that, I mean, how are you gonna pay for stuff?
Lapses. We have no armaments because what have we been doing? We've been giving them all away.
And we have no armaments because we've been giving them all away. Oh. Where he does realize that in a war with Russia, first of all, it's not happening over here. Secondly, we're not using bullets. What, have we used up all of our nukes? Is that what you can't be pushing this whole idea it's going to be nuclear Armageddon and we're almost out of nukes. This is so goofy.
What is stopping this? The only thing stopping it right now solely is the restraint of Vladimir Putin, which...
Yeah, that's what it is. It's restraint. It isn't the fact that the second he uses a tactical nuke, China, obviously to protect itself, backs away from him. They lose every bit of support they have in the world, and the rest of us just go, yeah, they're done forever. There's no coming back from the sanctions. There's no way out of this. They absolutely end everything. Like it is a suicide mission. It's the only way, and you have to believe that the restraint he's showing is not to put a gun to his own head.
By the way, is not something I can depend on.
No.
He's shown over and over again he has almost no restraint. He just went in and invaded.
Yeah, you can't mess with this guy, folks. Let him have what he wants. Let him get away with it. We do negotiate with terrorists. Is Stu and Glenn's ultimate message. You have to, and again, I've said this from the beginning, that mutual assured destruction, the MAD concept, which it involved a radical sneaking nuclear secrets to Russia with the idea that if the United States is the only place that has nukes, then we're all in danger because somebody else should have these things so that this concept of mutual assured destruction is what will keep it at bay, which is about as smart as the Nobel Peace Prize idea of, dynamite is so damaging, no one will ever want to have a war again because TNT is so explosive. See how well that worked out. But the idea, I don't even know why I'm arguing this like it's a real thing. These guys, this is just fucking dumb.
The country completely in a completely ridiculous fashion and in illegal fashion, an abhorrent fashion. I mean, this invasion.
But he should be able to take over Ukraine and Georgia and Chechnya, and then eventually, of course, all of the Soviet satellite nations. And then when he has all those resources and he can force everybody at the barrel of a gun to fight on his behalf, then he can take Kazakhstan back, and then they can attack they'll do referendums inside. They'll do little green men and referendums inside Estonia and Latvia and Lithuania, and start taking those countries back, even though they're part of NATO. And then they'll vote to get out of NATO while they declare, alliances between each other. And then they'll go after they murder a bunch of their own citizens, and then try to split Europe right down the middle. It's a great idea. It's great. Well thought out. What chapter of Art of the Deal is that, dummy?
I can't say enough how much I hate it. That being said,
let him have it. That being said, it's not our fucking problem. If he wants to rape and murder Ukrainians and, beat people to death with sledgehammers and cut off their genitals on video and that kind of stuff, it's not our fucking problem. It's way over there. By the way, these are also the same people who were clamoring around the Iraq and Afghanistan where we have to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here.
This same scenario played out the other way, we would 100% be at war we would be outwardly saying we were at war with Russia. And
hey, stupid. It would have involved us invading Mexico. You don't get to drop your shit all of a sudden.
In a way, they are saying that. Now, they haven't acted that way yet, thankfully. Russia has not. They have said, they've had officials come out and say, we are at war with the West. We are at war with with the United States.
You know why we were at war with Japan? We cut off their oil. That's why.
That's the only thing we didn't like about it. We didn't rape of Nanjing. I mean, do Americans ever really care about that? That's the only reason. If we hadn't cut off their oil, we would have just why did we cut off their oil, Glenn? Is that just randomly? We're just fucking with them? Ugh.
We forced other countries to isolate them and cut off their oil.
Because they were siding with the Nazis? And hold on. One moment. Not, by the way, not that Glenn gives a shit. The Nanjing Datsha, the rape of Nanjing, formerly romanized as Nanking, was the mass murder of Chinese civilians in Nanjing, the capital of the Republic of China, immediately after the Battle of Nanking in the Second Sino-Japanese War by the Imperial Japanese Army. 1937, the massacre lasted 6 weeks. The perpetrators also committed other war crimes such as mass rape, looting, and arson. The massacre was one of the worst atrocities committed even by the standards of World War II. Pushed quickly through China after capturing Shanghai in November 1937. By early December, it was on the outskirts of Nanjing. The speed of the army's advance was likely due to commanders allowing looting and rape along the way. As the Japanese approached, the Chinese army withdrew the bulk of its forces. Since Nanjing was not a defensible position, the civilian government of Nanjing fled, leaving the city under the de facto control of German citizen John Rabe, who was a Nazi, actually, who tried to help. It's weird. They call him the good Nazi. It's a long story. Who had founded the International Committee for the Nanking Safety Zone. Prince Yasuhiko Osaka was installed as the Japanese commander. The first Japanese troops reached in December 13 and faced little resistance. The massacre began the same day. Japanese troops running entirely unchecked. Chinese soldiers were summarily executed in violation of the laws of war. Women and girls were raped en masse, and looting was widespread. Due to multiple factors, death toll estimates anywhere from 40,000 to over 300,000, with rape cases ranging from 20,000 to over 80,000. However, most credible scholars in Japan, which include a large number of authoritative academics, support the validity of the International Military Tribunal for the Far East and findings which estimate at least 200,000 murders and at least 20,000 cases of rape. The massacre finally wound down. It tapered off. It was a tapering massacre. In 1938, John Rabe's safety zone was mostly a success and is credited with saving at least 200,000 lives. After the war, multiple Japanese military officers and Kokihiro, the former prime minister of Japan, and during the atrocity was found guilty of war crimes and executed. Let's see, strategy for the defense of Nanjing, war crimes. There's a sword used in the contest to display the Republic of China Armed Forces Museum in Taipei in Taiwan. So there was a story of the killing contest between these two Japanese officers. That's these guys. The 100-man killing contest. This is two Japanese officers during the attack on Nanjing. Made a contest who could kill 100 people the fastest while using a sword. The two officers were later executed on charges of war crimes and crimes against humanity for their involvement. The news stories were discovered in the 70s, which sparked a larger controversy over Japanese war crimes in China, in particular the Nanjing Massacre. In 1937, the Osaka Mainichi Shimbun and its sister newspaper, Tokyo Nichi Shimbun, covered a contest between two Japanese officers, Toshiaki Mukai and Tosuyoshi Noda, in which the two men were described as vying with one another to be the first to kill 100 people with a sword. The competition supposedly took place en route to Nanking, prior to the infamous Nanking Massacre. It was covered in 4 articles from November 30th, 1937 to 13 December 1937. The last two being translated in the Japan Advisor. Both officers supposedly surpassed their goal during the heat of battle, making it difficult to determine which officer had actually won the contest. This is important detail. Therefore, they decided to begin another contest with the goal of 150 kills. The Nichi headline of the story of 13 December read, "Incredible record in the contest to behead 100 people. Mukai 106, Noda 105. Both second lieutenants go into extra innings." Extra innings. Other soldiers and historians have noted the unlikelihood of the lieutenants' alleged heroics, which entailed killing enemy after enemy in a fierce hand-to-hand combat. They made up stories of them coming street to street, but the murdering of the people who were already tied up were much higher. Okay, admitted. Note himself on returning his home during his speech, "I killed only 4 or 5 with the sword in the real combat. After we captured an enemy trench, we tell them, ni lai lai, the Chinese soldiers were stupid enough to come out of the trench toward us one after another. We'd line them up and cut them down from one end to the other." Yeah. But it was they were just mad at us for the reason we fought the Japanese because we cut off their oil. That's it. There was no other reason for any of the hostilities.
Started exactly the same way.
So you're saying that predating Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, predating Pearl Harbor.
That causes Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, that causes Pearl Harbor.
That's why we go.
Yeah.
This motherfucker.
Oh,
look!
Congratulations.
And I don't know. Let's.
Yeah, Stu's trying to walk out of this shit.
Let's think about it in another way.
Did we just cut off their oil just to fuck with them? We just cut off their oil. That's all we did. We didn't care what they were doing with their ships. We just didn't want them to have any. We were trying to starve them out because we didn't like their faces. That's the assertion of Glenn Beck.
Ronald Reagan, in his prime, one of the best.
During bedtime for Bonzo?
Certainly the guy who you maybe most credit globally for ending the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
A guy who really knew this.
Well, no, it belongs to the American taxpayer. We dedicated ourselves to outspending the Russians. That was it. We drove the cost of the Cold War up so high they broke under the weight of it.
Issue was really strong on it, and I have as much faith in a president to execute something like this as I could possibly have with Ronald Reagan. If he were there, maybe you can make the argument, well, this is a very slippery slope and a really tough line to walk. But, if anybody could do it, it's Ronald Reagan.
No, he negotiated with the Iranians to keep the hostages to help him win an election. They sent emissaries over there. I mean, it's the biggest act of fixing an election in our country's history, where he was literally negotiating with terrorists who had American hostages, and then he parlayed that into Iran-Contra. No.
Instead, we have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris attempting to walk this line.
And this...
No, Anthony Blinken and our Defense Department and everybody involved is walking this. They set the agenda, they set the actual policy position in the United States, and then it's everybody else's job to execute it.
Pentagon.
And this Pentagon, which is a different situation than it was back in the day.
Right, and that's a good thing.
No.
Maybe we will, maybe
Reagan
God will
wouldn't-
bless us to avoid a World War III scenario.
Maybe.
But man,
I mean, it's going to take him to avoid it. These guys are held.
Yes, we're going to need the Lord. Lord, bring us, deliver us from this second Bay of Pigs, which is not actually a Bay of Pigs. It's more like a Bay of Bacon. That's where Stu and I live. Lord.
Bent on this, and it's not Reagan, and I wouldn't support it with Reagan.
But at least I'd have...
You wouldn't support Reagan in your fictitious war with Mexico, where Russia comes to their aid? And then what happens? Russia and Mexico start interacting. Let's just follow this shit through. And the Mexican government at this point is part and parcel, like a subsidiary of the drug cartels in South America. The largest customer base for their drugs is the United States. That's been cut off. So how do they make money after that? They'll send some of it south. Maybe they'll ship some of it to Europe. But Russia gets flooded with cocaine and fentanyl and all that kind of stuff because that's the new market. They've got guys coming back and forth, doing business with them. They're trying to build all these relations. They look the other way.
Some faith that he'd make the best decisions possible.
He wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
And even if you don't think...
Yes, he would. Even Reagan would have backed Ukraine in this situation, stupid.
Like it's something that's intentional. Just the bumbling idiocy of these people.
What's the bumbling part? Russia was supposed to take Ukraine in 6 fucking days.
They can't do anything right.
So,
they can't do any... Look, it's like Stu's auditioning for TYT. He's auditioning to be a disenfranchised or disgruntled faux-gressive. They can't do anything. I mean, they just, obviously negotiated a better deal for themselves than the Republicans did in, the debt ceiling thing. And, of course, the fucking jobs numbers are through the goddamn roof and shit. And of course, the infrastructure bill passes. We got literally, we've got 25,000 extra construction jobs alone just based on that. Even with the contraction in the commercial real estate market, they can't do anything right except keep the dollar high while interest rates are still at 5%. What the hell? Just and by the way, just for the record, they can't do anything right. That's today. You know what they can? You know what they're really good at, though, Stu? Stu, you know what they're really good at? Hold on, say that again, Stu. Tell them they can't do anything right.
These people, they can't do anything right.
So I disagree on one point. One thing they can do is teabag Republicans, especially the Freedom Caucus, who if they were outside and it was particularly sunny, would have a really awkward tan on their forehead, considering how often it happened.
Anything. And we're trying to micromanage World War III on the backs of these buffoons?
Can I just do a red cell session with you right now? Just
a red cell session. I don't know what this is. This is new. Red cell session. That's probably something. He's wearing sergeant bars and a what kind of scarf is that? Is that like it's not wool. That's a very soft. It's wonderfully soft. It's soft.
You know what
just cushion.
red cell is? It's a war. wargaming thing that the government does with fiction writers. Okay. And they're just like,
Yes, which is a perfect description of what's happening here. You got two guys talking in fictional terms, largely bullshit, the oldest form of fiction, pretending they know something about war because he's fucking wearing sergeant stripes. Good lord.
think of the different possibilities. Let's war game this out.
GI jerk over here.
Well, so let me red cell game this out.
Yeah, let's do it because the last one worked so well. I'm like, I need fart sounds just to get through this. There's no way. De-engineering. All right, so bring it home, big boy. Let's explain. Thrall me with your acumen.
As someone who wishes our country ill and is on the inside.
As somebody, so he's running this war game from the inside as a Benedict Arnold, as a Manchurian candidate, as somebody who's in here and they're going to destroy the United States. That's their plan, but they're successfully president of the United States. And this is exactly how they would do it, by keeping unemployment low and jobs high and improving the infrastructure, because you want to build the infrastructure up before it's destroyed so that everybody's extra pissed.
We've got a problem with, these Republicans and the Trump supporters and the people who are for the Constitution.
I don't know that that's how they would refer to it. If they're good. If you're talking about the Antichrist, he's got to be slicker than that, dum-dum.
And they're gaining steam, and it's not going to be good. We've got to silence them. I know. Well, we were, and then Elon Musk shows up.
Okay, this doesn't sound like a red cell game out. This sounds like a conversation between two deluded assholes.
Well, put the screws to him some more. But that's not going to be enough because
he's in China.
People still have some hope.
Yeah, god damn it. Hope, that's the thing that always ruins it for us.
Is there anything
I blame Obama.
In history? Well, Woodrow Wilson, he said he wasn't going to get us in if you just elect him again. He would keep us out of the war. And then right after he was elected, he got us into a war, which allowed him to then say freedom of speech had to be curbed.
Excuse me, we don't have freedom of speech in this country anymore because people can get kicked off of Twitter for violating the terms of service or using racist, bigoted, or violent language, or calling for the death of their fellow Americans, if indeed they're even Americans for real anyway. So I don't know why, if Biden wants to destroy freedom of speech, he's a little late. I mean, honestly.
And so he could silence all of the people who were against the war, and he put them in prison. Now, the next president came in and pardoned them, but he put them in prison. So you want to silence people.
All right, this is all. How is this the war games again? This is you know how some freeze frames you like somebody's trying to be happy and then you freeze frame and you catch a frame like this and you're like, I think this person's pretending to be happy. Here's a man pretending to be smart, and whenever you freeze frame him, he looks like a big dum-dum, and I think it's very telling.
You want to collapse the economy.
Right, so you would obviously add jobs. Fuck, it hurts.
You want to be
dumb.
able to have military or police take control internally.
Right, so you would definitely want the party that's against the militarization of the police in charge. Okay. Wouldn't you want Trump in because he was going to give more military gear to the cop? No, never. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt the red cell movement. That was silly of me.
I think this is a good plan. Let's go to.
Jesus Christ, that was the plan. That's the whole thing. I thought this was just the preamble. That's the plan. Be Woodrow Wilson. Okay, check and mate.
War.
And stew. Wow. Yeah. It's tough. It's when you put it that way. God, it gets me right here. How are we ever gonna avoid that? Basically. We got Woodrow Wilson 2.0 in there.
And look, he had control. Wilson had control of the Justice Department and everything else. They did there was the Black Tom. I've talked about this before, but nobody knows it. The Black Tom event, like 1914 or 13.
That's awkward.
And
obviously you wouldn't have been invited because you're the whitest Glenn ever.
it's this gigantic explosion of all of these munitions. And the munitions blow up because there was a German saboteur that came in and set fire to the place. Well, it was right before the election, and Wilson was saying we can't go to war, and so I can't have a German saboteur be responsible for that. So he blamed the corporations that don't care about people's safety.
He wanted to get into the war. He did. He was just hiding the fact that he wanted to get in the war. But if a German saboteur it was found out that they had done the Black Tom event, the people would have wanted to get into war, which he already wanted to get into in his second term. But all right, I had no idea war was so coy.
Because it works with my other plan, okay?
Okay. My plan, which is to wait to do the thing I want to do, even if the people want me to do it, till after the election, because if they find out what happened before the election, they'll want me to go ahead and do it. And once I've done it, it'll basically shoo me in for re-election because I've just joined a war, so there's no fucking way they would vote me out.
Corporations, we need an expert. And so he did nothing about it. And then the world kind of forgot about it.
Mm-hmm. This is amazing.
Until December 7th.
Yeah, they forgot about the German saboteur until the Japanese attacked us and killed a bunch of our soldiers and sank some of our boats in fucking Hawaii. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait a minute. All right, look, I'm upset about this, but I don't know if I'm ready to go to war just on Pearl Harbor. But did you hear about this whole German sabotage? I don't think it was Kellogg's that did this.
The Pentagon had done a research for FDR because he said, I want to round up all these Japanese, they're enemies. And they're like, Japanese Americans? No, I don't think so. He sent a general out to do a study. He did. He came back and he's like, you're wrong. They're good Americans. They're not spies. You're telling me there's not going to be a spy? Well, no, I'm not telling you that, but I'm telling you the majority are good Americans, and you can't do it.
Right. So basically, in case you're lost, and that's most people, Glenn is making the case that maggots are Japanese Americans circa World War II.
December 7th happened. And he comes out and says, December 7th, we saw what could be done and there could be saboteurs. And if you remember Black Tom, we have the report now on what really happened. And that was a German saboteur. And that could happen here. And he used that.
The truth about that sabotage to tell the American people something that was true and
that 20 years later to round up the Japanese. And he did.
Okay. Yeah, it's amazing.
Did it with the entire industrial complex.
That's the industrial complex. Now there's no even military industrial complex. It's just the industrial complex. Anything complex that involves industry.
Backing him up. He did it with the entire government backing him up.
He's the president. The government's supposed to back him up. He's the chief executive of he's the president of the United States. Like, oh my God. We had just been attacked. You do realize? All right. This, I mean, like this is amazing. This is shockingly dumb.
You're saying that a lot of the stuff related to Ukraine is out of the "never let a crisis go to waste" playbook, right?
Oh my gosh, I think this is the big.
What? What crisis, Stu? We invaded Mexico, okay? And then they took San Antonio, so we nuked a bunch of steakhouses in Texas. This is how it plays out. Do you even red sell, bro?
Biggest money laundering scam ever.
This is the biggest money laundering scam ever. Every dime we are sending to Ukraine is clearly ending up being used on the battlefield. You think they've got an extra nickel almost anywhere in fighting Russia, a country that size?
I think this is corruption central.
Because there was
based on what?
obviously a very real event with Russia invading.
Yeah, and
But
it's
our reaction
very,
to it is
and
they're
it's
taking advantage of it.
exactly right.
No, not exactly right. They're taking advantage of it? Who? Ukraine by asking for help? Us for helping?
Exactly right.
No, not exactly right. This is gibberish. This is just across the board. And he's wearing... Has Glenn Beck ever served in the military? I know he wore a Nazi uniform on one of his book covers.
They're taking advantage of it. They're doing it with ESG. They're doing it with the oil.
It's basically World War III will be fought with investment strategies. Holy hell.
Oil. So they accomplished that.
Accomplished what? Accomplished what? Good. All right. I'm losing my mind. That's all there is to it. I don't understand why that like actually look, crude oil is $71 a barrel. It opened at $70.21. Its previous close was $70.10. It's 52-week range is as low as 63 and never above 99 in the last year. This is the day. It went up and then it goes back down again. What do you mean with oil? With what oil? Is oil at $200 a barrel like you said it was going to be, Glenn? Glenn is one of those idiots that told us that oil was going to be $200 a barrel.
I think they are doing it to grow the military industrial complex.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start. How can I not throw shit?
As well, and the scientific complex.
There's no longer industry. It's just science is very complex. I think we can all agree. It's nothing if not complex.
They're also, this is pure speculation.
Really? Unlike everything else you've said? Let's revisit that war with Mexico border dispute horseshit.
But I don't trust that there's not a lot of money and a lot of weapons being sold on the black market or coming back here in the form of cash from offshore accounts into accounts of Americans.
What? So we're sending military gear and support to Ukraine, and that stuff's getting sold on the black market. And then the money is being, the money from that black market sale, I suppose they give the Ukrainians some kind of a cut, and then the billions just come back to end up in the pockets of Americans. Which Americans would that be? Is this James Biden? These javelins aren't really there. The videos of Ukraine fighting ably using all the gear we're sending, that's all CGI. That's all AI generated video, and they're just siphoning money off.
This is
so that they can put new shutters on their lake house.
Redistribution of wealth.
All right, now he's just using phrases it's like he's got a list of hack stupid phrases on a piece of paper. And he's Stu probably has a bet with him how many of these they can work into the conversation.
Except all these stupid Marxists that are for all of these people are like, yeah, we're going to get it. No, you are going to get it, believe me, but it's not going to be the power of the money. All of it is going to the top, making the rich and the evil rich. And there is a difference.
Yeah, there is. There definitely is a difference between the rich and the evil rich. Did I mention Elon Musk is in China right now?
The evil rich.
Yeah, thanks.
Richer.
I don't know what we watched. I don't understand what was supposedly gamed out in this situation.
It's just my opinion.
No, it's not your opinion. I don't think there's a coherent opinion in any of that. I am stunned at how much this man speaks and how little he actually says. I don't think there was a cohesive idea anywhere in that 13-minute, 36-second clip it was put there that is titled "The One Reason Why Russia and Ukraine War Hasn't Become World War III." Rather large topic. Does anybody, well, shit, chat room, hold on one second. Chat room, anybody, Biden's speech was great. Do I miss it? Okay, yeah. Should we jump over and look at it too? It's a good follow-up. Yeah, we'll follow that part of it up because I think it's relatively short. Yes? Not a single, like, I'm trying to think of even the presentation of a functioning idea. Two ladies done. Excuse me, that's not how the internet works, folks. That's not how it goes. Let's see. Let's see. Speech. Whoops. Did I? Oh. Here, hold on. Da, 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 da. And here you go. Where is it? Biden. What? Let's see. On Today Live. There we go. Today. Commencement speech at Air Force One. That's where he tripped on the sandbag. Who cares? Let's see. I'll find it. We'll see if there's in. If anybody wants to find it, put it in the Discord. Folks, let's see. Did ceiling. This is it. Is that the whole thing?
Tonight, President Biden will address the...
Hold on. Did he actually do it? Hold on. We do it here. These are all these folks. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to find it. You watch. I don't care. I'm going to do it. 4 days ago. 2 weeks ago. Today. I need to do it by... It's so funny how the filters in this is interesting. In the last hour. Boink. There you go. Streamed live minutes. There you go.
States of America.
Okay. Hold on. This is. Okay. Here we go. This is. I think this is what we're talking about. Let's go for it. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I present to you the dude I voted for, who I think broke his ankle during the campaign, and then has a shortened tendon and doesn't take that into account as much as I would like him to. And also knock off the Peloton. There's other ways to exercise without shortening your hamstrings at your age. I'm just saying. Anyways, that's just me. None of my goddamn business. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. Hold on.
My fellow Americans, when I ran for president, I was told the days of bipartisanship were over, and that Democrats and Republicans can no longer work together. But I refuse to believe that, because America can never give in to that way of thinking.
Agreed. And anybody who tells you have to, or that it's over or whatever, is arguing for authoritarianism and monarchy.
Look, the only way American democracy can function is through compromise and consensus.
Evil, 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 impolite and evil, evil. You don't compromise with these people.
And that's what I work to do as your president. You know, to forge bipartisan agreement where it's possible and where it's needed. I've signed more than 350 bipartisan laws thus far in almost 2.5 years, including the historic law that rebuilding America so that we can rank #1 in the world in infrastructure instead of where we're ranked now, number 13 in the world. Another historic law, rebuilding our manufacturing base so that we'll lead the world once again in making semiconductor chips, so much more and so many more sophisticated ones. And now, a bipartisan budget agreement. This is vital because it's essential to the progress we've made over the last few years is keeping full faith and credit of the United States of America and passing a budget that continues to grow our economy and reflects our values as a nation. That's why I'm speaking to you tonight, to report on the crisis averted and what we're doing to protect America's future.
And also to dark Brandon my nuts right on top of Kevin McCarthy's forehead and watch as Marjorie Taylor Greene tries to move them out of the way. And even though she deadlifts, she'll need 2 hands to even look him in the eyes.
Passing this budget agreement was critical. The stakes could not have been higher. If we had failed to reach an agreement on the budget, there were extreme voices threatening to take America for the first time in our 247-year history into default on our national debt. Nothing would have been more irresponsible. Nothing would have been more catastrophic.
Well, I mean, obviously, doing a drinking game with who can push the button first. I mean, I'm a purist with things like nothing and everything, but don't get me started on never say never.
Our economy would have been thrown into recession.
True.
Retirement accounts for millions of Americans would have been decimated. 8 million Americans would have lost their jobs. Default would have destroyed our nation's credit rating, which would have made everything from mortgages to car loans to funding for the government much more expensive.
Right, which is what the Republicans want to run on next time. They see that as a feature, not a bug.
And it would have taken years to climb out of that hole. And America's standing as the most trusted, reliable financial partner in the world would have been shattered. So, it was critical to reach an agreement. And it's very good news for the American people. No one got everything they wanted, but the American people got what they needed. We averted an economic crisis, an economic collapse. We're cutting spending and bringing the deficits down at the same time. We're protecting important priorities from Social Security to Medicare to Medicaid to veterans to our transformational investments in infrastructure and clean energy. I want to.
Yes, by the way, those are the 2 things that are pissing the Republicans off the most, specifically the clean energy stuff, because they thought they could claw back all the renewable investments, and it's driving them fucking crazy. And none of them can say why, other than AOC equals Green New Deal equals sales point. That's it. They have no, I mean, like I said, one of the biggest like EV battery companies in the country is in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. And if it was shut down because it never got a chance to get off the ground because of tax breaks that it's getting to get started, like oil companies did back in the day, Marjorie Taylor Greene's district would lose thousands of jobs.
Commend Speaker McCarthy. You know, he and I, we and our teams, we were able to get along, get things done. We were straightforward with one another, completely honest with one another, respectful with one another. Both
Yes, which is why the horseshoe hates.
sides operated in good faith. Both sides kept their word. And I also want to commend other congressional leaders. House Minority Leader Jeffries, Senate Majority Leader Schumer, Senate Minority Leader McConnell, They acted responsibly and put the good of the country ahead of politics. The final vote in both chambers was overwhelming, far more bipartisan than anyone thought was possible.
Yep.
So, I want to thank the members of Congress who voted to pass.
By the way, pardon me, Mr. President, is exactly what I said would happen. Just saying. If you'll recall, if anybody else been around, you've been hanging around, you've been watching the show at all for any length of time? Okay.
This agreement, which I'm going to sign tomorrow and become the law. So here's what the deal does. First, it cuts spending. And over the next 10 years, the deficit will be cut by more than $1 trillion. And that will be on top of the record $1.7 trillion. I already cut the deficit in my first 2 years in office.
There you go. So, by the way, you notice how everybody was like, they're cutting this out of the 10-year, the next 10 years of the budget. Biden's budgetary work already will cut that amount out more than likely before the end of his first term. And so to spread that amount of cuts out over a decade.
And it's clear we're all on a much more fiscally responsible course than the one I inherited when I took office 4 years ago. When I came to office, the deficit had increased every year the previous 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And nearly
especially the last one, but don't get me started.
$8 trillion was added to the national debt in the last administration. Mm-hmm. And now we're turning things around. And that's good for America.
We're turning the beat around.
You know, my dad used to have an expression. He said, Joey, don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget. I'll tell you what you value. That's at the heart of this debate. What do we value? Protecting seniors. You may remember during my State of the Union address, there was a spirit exchange between me and a few Republicans spontaneously occurring on the floor of the House of Representatives. I was pointing out that for years, some of them were putting forward proposals to cut Social Security and Medicare. Mm-hmm. And some of them that night took exception, and they said very loudly that that wasn't true. So I asked them on the floor that night, I said, ask them a simple question. Will you agree not to cut Social Security, not to cut Medicare? Would they agree to protect these essential programs? They're a lifeline for millions of Americans. Programs that these Americans have been paying into every single paycheck they've earned since they
hence why they're entitled to them.
Started working. And they provide so much peace of mind. With the bright lights and cameras on, those few Republicans who were protesting, they agreed. They said they wouldn't cut it. That's how we protected Social Security and Medicare from the beginning and from it being cut, period. Health care was another priority for me, a top priority. I made it clear from the outset, I would not agree to any cuts in Medicaid, another essential lifeline for millions of Americans, including children in poverty, the elderly in nursing homes, and Americans living with disabilities. The original House Republican proposal would have cut health care for up to 21 million Americans on Medicaid. And I said no. And Medicare was protected. And so were millions of people most in need. Look, I've long believed that the only one truly sacred obligation that the government has is to prepare those we send into harm's way and care for them and their families when they come home and when they don't come home. That's why my last budget provided VA hospitals with additional funding for more doctors, nurses, and equipment to accommodate the needs of veterans and more appointments. The House Republican plan would have meant 30 fewer million VA healthcare visits for our veterans. We didn't let that happen.
Look, look, the bill's already passed, so he can bring up the stuff that they were going to try and squeak through.
In addition, this bill fully funds the Bipartisan PACT Act, the most significant law in decades for veterans exposed to toxic burn pits and for their families. It expands access to those veterans.
The John Stewart Act, for most people, colloquially, that's how you can refer to it.
And their families to health care and to disability benefits. Look, we're investing in America and our people and in our future. We've created over 13 million new jobs, nearly 800,000 manufacturing jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it written that America can't lead the world again in manufacturing? Unemployment is at 3.7%.
By the way, the U.S. is, I think, number 2 in the world's manufacturing by the numbers. And that's if you believe China's output numbers. If you don't, because the rest of their numbers are largely garbage, we are number 1.
More Americans are working today than ever in the history of this country. And inflation has dropped 10 straight months in a row.
Mm-hmm.
In this debate, I refuse to put what was responsible for all this economic progress on the chopping block. This bipartisan agreement protects the law that will help us build the best infrastructure in the world.
Have you guys been in an airport lately that hasn't been under construction? I haven't. I've been in a bunch of airports lately. All of them are getting facelifts or new terminals. Holy shit, Chicago. What the hell? Like, the Terminal 5 at O'Hare is ginormous. And it's not even, like, they're not even done with it.
It protects the Chips and Science Act, which is going to bring key parts of our supply chain to America, so we don't have to rely on others, like semiconductors, those tiny computer chips smaller than the tip of your finger that affect nearly everything we rely on, from cell phones to building automobiles to the most sophisticated weapon systems and so much more. We protected another law that I passed and signed last year that finally beat Big Pharma, which I've been trying to do for over 30 years. It finally gives Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices, just like the VA has been able to do for veterans. This law has already dramatically cut the cost of insulin for seniors.
Right, which by the way, all the no compromise folks, you have to explain why you're okay with losing those benefits to, I guess, go down swinging on the floor. That I'd rather lose the perfect battle than win, than win the war.
From as much as $400 a month to just $35 a month for insulin. Negotiating lower drug prices not only saves seniors a lot of money, it saves the country a lot of money. $160 billion that's not having to be paid out because drug prices are more rational. We pay the highest drug prices of any industrial nation in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's just the beginning. You know, we also protected the most significant breakthrough ever in dealing with the existential threat of climate change. Today, new wind and solar power is cheaper than fossil fuel.
That's right. And that's why, like I said, the clawing back of what was in the Inflation Reduction Act, which had a bunch of the climate moves that Biden got through, if you listen to all the Republicans who are complaining about the debt ceiling deal, the thing they are most angry about is that none of that stuff, which was passed and signed, is being taken away by their hair's breadth margin in the House.
Since I've been in office, clean energy and advanced manufacturing have brought in $470 billion in private investments. It's going to create thousands of jobs, good-paying jobs, all across.
He's talking about foreign investment, by the way, largely.
This country.
And companies like Intel here building other chip factories.
And help the environment at the same time. Remember, at the beginning of this debate, some of my Republican colleagues were determined to gut the clean energy investments. I said, no, we kept them all.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I have to say, in reviewing clips and watching stuff from my show, and just seeing what the conversation is, and CSL can vouch for this, I'm sure, there is a shit ton of videos of people going, we didn't get any of this Green New Deal, blah, 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 taken out. We should have wrecked the economy just to get that shit gone. Oh, it's so lovely.
And there's so much more to do. We're going to do even more to reduce the deficit. We need to control spending if we're going to do that. But we also have to raise revenue and go after tax cheats and make sure everybody's paying their fair share. No one, I promise, no one making less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. But like most of you at home, I know the federal tax system isn't fair. That's why I kept my commitment, again, that no one earning less than $400,000 a year will pay a penny more in federal taxes. That's why last year I secured more funding more IRS funding to go after wealthy tax cheats.
Right. And this is the thing too. Like the other thing you hear them, they're so mad. Even Maria Bartiromo, that was probably her biggest thing, is like, they're doing nothing to get rid of these 80,000 IRS agents that are going to go after mom and pops and blah, blah, blah. Like, oh God.
The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, and it is nonpartisan, says that this bill will bring in $150 billion, and other outside experts expect that it would save as much as $400 billion, because it's forcing people to pay their fair share.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans may not like it, but I'm going to make sure the wealthy pay their fair share. I'm also proposed closing over a dozen special interest tax loopholes for big oil, crypto traders, hedge fund billionaires, saving taxpayers billions of dollars. Mm-hmm. Republicans defended every single one of these special interest loopholes, every single one. But I'm going to be coming back, and with your help, I'm going to win. Right now, catch this, right now the average billionaire in America pays just 8% in federal taxes. 8%. Teachers and firefighters pay more than that. That's why I proposed a minimum tax for billionaires. Republicans are against it, but I'm going to keep fighting for it. No billionaire should pay less in federal taxes than a teacher or a firefighter. Mm-hmm. Look, let me close with this. I know bipartisanship is hard, and unity is hard, but we can never stop trying. Because in moments like this one, the ones we just faced, where the American economy and the world economy is at risk of collapsing, there's no other way. No matter how tough our politics gets, we can see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans.
Right.
Treat each other with dignity and respect. To join forces as Americans to stop shouting, lower the temperature.
All right, I will. It's just, it's hard sometimes, you know? Because
here I am like an idiot.
You know, I'll be nice. I try not to raise my voice too much, unless I'm laughing really loud.
And work together to pursue progress, secure prosperity, and keep the promise of America for everybody. As I've said in my inaugural address, without unity, there is no peace, only bitterness and fury. And we can never become that country. I can honestly say to you tonight that I've never been more optimistic about America's future. We just need to remember who we are. We are the United States of America. And there's nothing we can't do when we do it together. So thank you all for listening, taking the time tonight to listen to me. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, I'm for it. Also, chat room. Somebody was in here. Let's see. Chum is watching this from his toilet and he's fuming. This is true. Somebody was saying we need high-speed trains. No, we need high-speed trains are only part of the equation. We need a better and broader, more functioning train system. Most of the areas where trains do the most, like add the most value, are in areas that are too far for to drive, but not far enough where you have a big enough airport within a reasonable direction, and that also brings larger amounts of cargo and the like with it. So train tracks, when you lay them out, and we've talked about this before, the Chinese rail system is $1 trillion in debt. It is not as profitable as they have said, and it works in areas like Taiwan. We definitely can have them. Yeah, LA to Vegas, San Francisco to LA, questionable. Definitely a train system, and you could definitely have a speed run during, in one part of the state. Terrain-wise, you have an issue. And of course, it's an earthquake zone. So there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why just having a functioning train and connecting that together and then building on that infrastructure over time to high-speed rail with the technology in certain areas would be great. Like Seattle to Portland, if Portland still exists, obviously it's gone. Rip Portland, hashtag Rip Portland. But and like I've done the high speed rail in China and in Taiwan. The one in Taiwan, I would ride that thing every time I'm there. In China, it made me really fucking nervous. They had parts of it collapse while I was there, and no. So it matters. It like you have we need to build up our standard train system and then put on top of that. Vegas to Denver would be nice. I agree. There are a lot of places where the land is particularly flat and there's a lot of open ground that you could do it that would connect cities in a way that like the flights don't necessarily need to go there with that regularity, but it could connect vibrant cities. And one of those things you could do is sort of Tahoe, Reno area to Vegas to Tempe, Arizona, to Phoenix. Like that, again, connecting those that way. There are flights, but they are intermittent and they mostly go to the rest of the country, and Phoenix is a big hub. So that would be another way that people along the way could get there. And you don't have to make it high speed, because along the way you could have these buildups of, small towns that are along the highway that if they really want to travel, they can take the train an hour to the next city, or an hour and a half to the next city, and then catch a plane out, and it would save you an airport. There's a lot of like structural build just on regular functioning train lines that you could work on and develop even before the high-speed rail. And then the high-speed rail investment in certain areas would absolutely be worth it. And again, LA to Vegas being one of those things. There's a space for the train line. It existed a long time ago. They just need to reclaim the land and turn it into that. Totally. That's the next infrastructure bill. Big Oil is not going to let us have trains. Big Oil is not going to be Big Oil very much longer, Howie. That's the thing. They don't have nearly as much power as they used to. Big Oil can't even strong-arm the big three into not making electric cars. And they used to be able to. In the 90s, you ever watch Who Killed the Electric Car? That pressure was something that they could put on people. Now you cannot. So, she gives it from Tokyo, back up here. The Shinkansen from Tokyo to Kyoto, both round trip, 3 hours. Seats were like domestic first class seats, much more comfortable than flying. It's slightly longer, even though it's a train. And like I said, I've enjoyed them depending on the country and the quality. Big copper is next. Yeah, or everybody's like big lithium, big cobalt's more like it. So, Phoenix Sky Harbor is one of the big Southwest hubs, and if you could train down there from any of the surrounding area, for example, it would expand the available transportation options for Americans all throughout the Southwest, for example. The East Coast has a lot of train systems like Amtrak and stuff. Most of their investment is up in the East Coast because those train tracks have been there the longest, and it's been it's got a storied history. And it constantly needs support and rebuilding because of its heavy usage. But they never really, because of Detroit being where it is, and there might even be an argument as to why the big three why Detroit became the center of cars, because it in many ways sort of almost stopped the commuter train system from really sprawling into Chicago and then to Minneapolis from there on in a major way. So they do not have that power anymore. Not like they used to. Sky Harbor has a monorail. Yeah, in the train system. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Wish I could drive my car with me on a train. Well, yeah, that's one of the things. Is like, again, you build out you can't do that on a high-speed rail, but the idea that you would have a park car on there that you could pay for and take your car with you, that's not out of the question. They used to have systems like that, and they could again. Like a limited number of those things. Like we have one vehicle car that holds 8 vehicles or whatever. And then in the train, you take your car with you. That's possible. So anyways, point being, San Diego lets you take your bicycle on the car. You mean in the train? Yeah. Yeah, like a car is what I was saying. Okay, so whatever happened to Steve Gutenberg? It's a good question. He's semi-retired. He works occasionally. I saw him on a Law and Order episode a while back. Our country is big, really. Yes, it is. It is very big. The auto train, yeah. Cheaper to rent. Yeah, that's true, too. Amtrak takes unless you're taking your train there to sort of move and you don't want to do a movie there, but even still, like, yeah, it's a lot. But if there was an area where your vehicle was special for some particular reason, you might do that. That's why it didn't last, by the way, because there were enough cars and there's enough rentals to do it. I love taking the train too. I mean, smart feller. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the distinction. The Boring Company, it's fine. I mean, that's more like a magnetic tube for electric cars. It's still not the same thing. Yeah. Taking a train. There you go. Last day doesn't really count. I'm near the end of the show, so I want to be able to, let's see, where are we? Whoop. Let's grab, there's a couple of things. This is, oh, by the way, if I may, this is Bill O'Reilly. This is, in terms of the debt ceiling, this is part of the conversation that was happening behind the scenes. And like I said, we looked at the Sean Hannity clips, and he was passive aggressively trying to talk Republicans off the cliff. Like, don't you dare vote to, not vote for this thing or not let it pass. None shall pass. I have no quarrel with you, good Sir Knight, but I must cross this bridge. Then you shall die. So this is part of the conversation that was going on the side. Trump wants, this is, look at this, Bill O'Reilly. Donald Trump is wrong about the debt ceiling. Now, Bill O'Reilly is the guy who has hung out with Donald Trump the most, who likes him the least, with the exception of maybe Bob Woodward. They did that. Remember the tour? You guys remember that was going to be the shit. Remember that? Remember the Bill O'Reilly Trump tour that was going to sell out arenas, and they did like one half-filled space? Remember that? Oh, it was glorious. What a wonderful loss that was. Just watching that stinker. Remember that? That was supposed to be huge. They were going to split the ticket price. Cha-ching! And O'Reilly was going to ask him the tough questions, and they did it like one and a half, right? One and a half of them, and that was it. Oh, so great. Yeah, it was ass. So this is Bill O'Reilly, former, vaudeville cohort of Donald Trump, a touring comedy duo. And this is the title of this one is Donald Trump is wrong about the debt ceiling, Bill O'Reilly, and Trump wants economic chaos. And O'Reilly's going to talk like this.
All right. Now, Donald Trump said this.
He said this. Wrote it down. I don't like it. But you're talking to a guy who's had to spend $33 million to make a woman keep her mouth shut.
I'm going to quote it. Republicans should not make a deal on the debt unless they get everything they want, including the kitchen sink.
And by the way, in parentheses and in quotes, so that people don't think he actually means a kitchen sink.
That's the way the Democrats have always dealt with us. Do not fold.
That was 11 o'clock in the morning on May 19th. And no, they haven't, because if you'll notice, nobody's gotten everything, including the kitchen sink on either side. Although I think Biden did extraordinarily well in this one. All these negotiations end up with somebody taking something they don't like.
Donald Trump had to know, if no deal was reached, that the stock market would have been down 2,000 points.
Yeah, and so the Saudis want to buy the dip, and so they're looking forward to that, and they're not invested in the country, and he's got a partnership with them for his LIV golf bullshit.
And that inflation would have been ignited, and that economic chaos.
Ignited? Excuse me, Bill. This is the worst inflation we've ever had. It's never going down. It's probably going much higher. And 15 million immigrants are coming over here to spend money that of ours that we don't have. Yeah.
Would have descended on America as foreign investors who buy our bonds and pump billions of dollars into our economy would have stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you're acting like A, Trump knows this, and B, the Freedom Caucasians give a fuck.
Trump is smart economically.
All right. I didn't realize this was a parody account. I'm sorry. AI has gotten so good.
He had to know that.
No, he didn't.
Trump is tweeting out, don't compromise. Why?
Because he's stupid. Because he's a doddering old psychopath.
Because economic chaos works to Donald Trump's advantage. It does.
Yes. Donald Trump succeeds when America fails.
And if you have been reading my messages of the day, I've
No, not really. Honestly, I'm sorry. I should get around so much.
spelled it out. In times of economic trouble, people turn to what they call a political strongman, which is Donald Trump.
I mean, the illusion of the political strongman that he had for a couple of years is that we're not really pretending that still exists, are we? Did you see him walking in front of Putin? Good Lord.
Okay, that's the only explanation. I haven't talked to him about it, but
I have another one. He's an idiot who is a chaos agent and does not care about the implications of anything that he does. He only moves on his impression that it'll help him in some way.
that tweet, I mean, you don't want economic chaos, even if
You don't?
it hurts Biden. And believe me, the press would turn it all around and say it's the Republicans' fault, the economy, they didn't make the deal.
Well, it would be, especially if they read his tweet and did what he
And
said.
there are enough uninformed people.
What's the uninformed part? Literally the titular head of the party, the guy who's actually in the lead to be the candidate next time, is telling them, shut it all down.
Swing voters or, distracted voters,
The swing voters, distracted people who need to be convinced.
whatever you want to call them,
I have a lot of names for them, and some they don't like, but
that the Republicans would get blamed.
because it would be their fault. It would, because they took shitty, ignorant, psychotic advice and then actually followed through on it to the detriment of everyone.
And the people who really don't know what's going on would vote for the other party.
No, people who know what's going on, especially, would vote for the Democrats because they go, look, I may not agree with these guys on everything, but holy hell, those people are insane.
So you have to see the big picture.
You totally do. The big, that's the thing, is that I can't, you can't. Trump, he's obviously got a giant vision. And so does Bill. You got to see the big picture. You're in the middle of being a violent, sexual assaulting monster, and you're like, maybe I should tap the brakes on this kind of shitty behavior if I want to keep my Fox job. And you're like, that's you being myopic. Don't, follow the advice of, well, never mind.
And that's the memo.
That's it. That's the memo. That's the whole thing. And then the rest of this is a gold ad. Yeah? Yep. Seriously. Half this fucking video is a gold ad. After his death, I told you about the debt ceiling. You want to talk about your debt ceiling, the way you solve that? Gold. Because the world loves pretty rocks. That's the thing. Why would you want your currency based on the economic output and the GDP of your country and the range of assets available when you can put everything behind a pretty rock? Sometimes in history people think is really pretty, and other times they're like, it's all right. You back your currency on pretty rock. That's right. And don't forget, if you act now, you'll get one of these commemorative bullshit coins. They're largely, I think, aluminum, actually. They're made out of tin cans, but they look gold, and that's the important part. That's the great thing about gold, is that, see this thing? This is just as shiny as real gold. And it does everything that gold does, except it's slightly lighter and easier to carry. And it does, the greatest thing about gold is that it has that gold color, and it shines. It's very shiny. Look, if I turn it, look, see that shiny part when it does that? See, that's why you need to invest in shiny rock. Shiny Rock Investments is a company that will provide you with rocks that are shinier than most rocks. And you can't do anything else with them, you know. You can, I mean, if you had a circuit board etcher, you could probably do certain amounts of it, but we've already found substitutes largely for that. But if you had this stuff and you were in, I don't know, like in a post-apocalyptic nightmare where we all went back to shiny rock good, this will get you killed. Actually, I don't know if you want to walk around with those kind of things. That's probably a mistake. But check out Shiny Rock Investments. This is not investment advice. Don't ever take this kind of stuff like this. Shiny rocks aren't actually fucking worth anything. A Mutual of Omaha is people. I've never understood the gold thing. Like I appreciate that it exists. That's fine. I think it's great. You can make it's very popular because you can make jewelry out of it very easily. And back in the day, before advances in smelting, it was one of the easiest ones to make stuff that's make pretty stuff out of it. It also wore off sooner too. I don't know if you noticed that it's. But please invest pretty rock. I'm gonna make a pretty rock ad. I think I have to, right? Yes, shiny rock. Shiny rocks. Shiny rock that's easy to stamp and make into things, which means you can unmake them as well, which is problematic, obviously. Somebody can melt it down, turn this coin into a cylinder type thing. You could smuggle it in your butt if you want to. As a matter of fact, this thing's so bendy, you could probably just do it. I'm not going to try it on camera, but shiny rock. Gleam. All right. MAGA gold. Whoever smelt it dealt it. We smelt it, and then we dealt it. Shiny rock. All right. I think that's the catchphrase. It's got to be. That's fun. All right. Shiny rock. Shiny rock will always be shiny rock to me. Good old shiny rock. Shiny Rock, Tennessee. All right. We're going too far with this joke. Too far. And we're out of time. But we still got, I can do a short one. Can we do this one? So we've done, so far, Trump has done the 250-year party that's 3 years out that he's going to plan for already. He's solved the drug problem. And now he wants to sing Israel happy birthday. There it is. President Trump commemorates the 75th anniversary year of Israel's founding. Here we go. Happy birthday to Jews. Happy birthday to Jews. Happy birthday to Jews walk into a bar. And the third one saw it and ducked or whatever. Okay. Because we'll do this. We'll do it live. We got to do this one live. It's just how we work. Hold on one second. We'll see if, just in case. Hold on. There's something wonky in the thing back here. All right. Let's see. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what he has to say. Let's here we go. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Let's go. By the way,
I want to extend my heartfelt congratulations.
He wants to extend. Cut. Why would you keep going? It's 1 minute 42 seconds. Stop. I want to extend. I want to extend my heartfelt feelings for the Israel. You guys, so good. Let me tell you this. You're looking fantastic. Every year I extend my extension all over you. Let me tell you something. Start again. Quit. Cut. Go back. Go back. Please. I don't know why. All right.
I want to extend my heartfelt.
I want to extend. I'm sorry. I missed. It was my bad. Extend is the word. He's going to extend. I hope he doesn't pull anything.
Congratulations to all the people of Israel on the 75th anniversary year of your country's founding.
The year, just a general. I got to make a video. This is the year. Is there a day? Do we bother? I'm going to be busy on that day.
The state of Israel is the fulfillment of a dream that endured through generations of
Yes, we know. We've all seen The Big Lebowski.
hardship and through the bottomless evils of the Holocaust. The dream
The bottomless evils. Well, actually, I would like to take a moment to extend my appreciation to all the Allied soldiers who put a bottom under that. Because believe me, they would have kept going.
of a Jewish state in the Jewish homeland.
Homeland, in the Jewish neighborhood of Jew Place, where Jews can go so they don't bother the rest of us. In Jew City, somewhere in Oklahoma, I think. I don't know. I don't really fly.
Against all odds, the state of Israel was born, and now more than 7 decades later, Israel has not just survived, it has prospered.
Thrived, I think is the... Or no.
As a blessing of Almighty God to the entire world, as
Entire world. There's an argument there that I mean, I've never been. I shouldn't judge. But I mean, I'm just saying, the entire world. There's some Palestinian people that would have a point of order, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
president, it was my honor to be the best friend the people of Israel have ever had.
I was their friend with benefits. I would give them a reach around behind myself.
Had in the White House. I withdrew from the horrendous Iran nuclear deal. I kept my promise that if
Which brought Iran closer to having a nuclear bomb, which, I mean, it doesn't matter because Jesus can't come back until that place is obliterated, right? If I'm reading the 2 Corinthian,
officially recognized the eternal capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. I also recognized Israeli.
yeah, I want to congratulate Israel on me being alive in their 75th year, because without me, these 75 years would not have been possible. It would have ended a long time ago had God not known that in your 71st year, I was going, well, 68th year, I would run for president-ish, but God knew this, so.
Sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that nobody thought was even possible to get. I did more for Israel than any other president.
And look how ungrateful they are, fucking Netanyahu. Bibi is not my baby anymore.
Probably times 10.
Probably times 10. I would argue that there were a couple of spots along the way where American presidents kind of made sure that they made it past the first decade, much less the 7.5 years in. But 70.5 years in. But you don't think the people who were president when it actually happened might have 10x'd by, I mean, they'd at least 7x'd it. All right.
And that's okay.
And that's okay, even though they treat me like shit. And they don't want to see me, but they let Jared come over there and park his $1 billion, and I don't like it. But what are you going to do? He knows Haim Saban personally. Nice guy, I hear, but he thinks I'm an idiot, so he can't be good.
Did a great job, and I'm very proud of it.
I'm more proud of it than I am of Israel, quite frankly. You ingrates.
Great people, incredible.
So great people. Not all of them, obviously. Not talking about the Arabs that live there. Just,
People, brave people.
Brave people, tall people, some short people. Some of them have no reason to live.
And with the historic Abraham Accords, we even created peace in the Middle East.
Oh, I see. Good. I'm glad there's peace in the Middle East. So yeah. So the whole thing about the Taliban and Iran fighting right now, and the Houthis claiming northern Yemen for themselves, and basically Yemen being divided into 2 states essentially, and people being slaughtered there. That's serious. Still going. No, it's peace. There's peace there. It's fine because you brokered a peace agreement between Israel and countries it was currently not at war with.
The most important diplomatic breakthrough in many generations.
If you count if you don't count any of the meaningful ones.
Once again, to our Israeli friends, congratulations on
for how good I was to you. You're like my second wife, but not quite my third. You're like 2.0.
This joyous
beta.
occasion, the American people will stand with you always, and so will I. Thank you.
I'm sure they feel a lot better right now. This is great. This is I mean, relax, Israel. He's got your back. Even if he doesn't become president again, he's going to dedicate his life to coming over there. He's going to show up with a shovel, if only to remove some of his own bullshit. That's just sorry about this. That whole thing about me being the best ever. Is it just me, or is like the older he gets, he's starting to sound very Reagan? He's one well away from being okay. Late in the second term, are we? Let's see. Somebody's Valentine. Let's see. We have a couple of trolls in here, which is lovely. Thank you for being here. Without you, we wouldn't spread out. This guy making fun of idiot Trump speech and fawning over senile Biden. That's rich. Biden has never said. First of all, he admits to having a stutter and the like, but also he's never said I have the best words and I know better than anybody else. See, and the certain amount of humility that Biden has gives him a lot of leeway to not be, an MLK or Kennedy level orator. I don't have a problem with that. Trump started his fucking show, his entire campaign in 2015-16, saying, I have the best words, I'm smarter than everybody. And once you set that up, you put a comedy target on your back. Get it? That's the difference. But we love you, and we're glad you're here, because trolls actually spread us out. You're why we cleared 50K finally, and why we're going to hit 100K much faster, because by watching the show, you put us in your feed of also watched. So it's good. So thanks for being here. It's got to be hard, it's hard out there for a troll, because you don't have the impact you used to have. Man, back in 2015, 2016, those were the days, right? Oh, so good. You could you could downvote stuff, and oh, it's great. So good. You could, people got upset. Remember that? Remember when people you could troll somebody and they'd go, how dare you? That was, those were the days, and you know who you were then. Yeah, trolling ain't easy. But anyways, I'll let you guys go. I've got radio in the morning. Love you guys. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit a thumbs up, support the show. Spread the clips around, the shortened version stuff. I know some people can't take the bigger stuff. I've started posting, if you'll notice, shorts on the channel. I hope some of you have seen those. It seems to have helped bring people to the channel a little bit. More like little commercials. They don't really fund the channel or make it happen, but I think it introduces people to the show in some ways, and I'm going to keep doing that. So anyways, thank you guys so much. And on my way out the door, I would like to say, right again. Right again. And that makes you guys right again for just coming back. Thanks. That jobs numbers and the debt ceiling passed, just like I said it would. Oh, it's kind of good. We'll talk about it on the radio tomorrow. And Phil will be joining us, by the way. There's a lot of stuff happening in Ukraine right now. Phil will be filling us in. It's going to be it's a lot. I'm nervous for him right now. I think they'll be okay, but it concerns me, as it would. So anyways, Valentine, thanks you for trying. It's keep whiffing. It's all right. And you're welcome back anytime. You can even swear, it doesn't matter. You just have to avoid the racial epithets and sexist terms and stuff. That's all we ask, you know what I mean? And it means, and maybe just think of it as you can still be the same hateful asshole you are in the rest of your life. You just have to broaden your vocabulary. That's all I'm asking. Like, there's a word that I use a lot, and I think it might help you out. It's